I don't actually know the name for this type of question, I just call it constant difference, in brackets, grouping or double up. Let me show you why I call it grouping or double up. If you look at the difference between the rows in this pattern, it's plus 3 plus 5 plus 3 plus 5 and then it repeats. So it's not exactly like constant difference where you add the same number every time. But if you group two rows together, then notice that you are just always adding 8 to get to the next group, just like constant difference. That's why I call it grouping or double up. They might triple up, but if that happens, just take that loss and move on. Try your best to extend the logic, but if really cannot, just go secure the other marks first. Now that we've identified that this is constant difference, grouping or double up, we can use a similar approach to what we use for constant difference. Just use a button. We just have to make some adjustments. Whenever we press the button now, the rows increase by 2 instead of 1. So if our starting point is row 1, we will get to row 3 when we press the button once, and row 5 if we press the button again. For the term, it increases by 8 every time we press the button, but same thing, we skip a row every time. So if I press the button twice, we add 16 to the first term to get our answer. So just like for constant difference, if you can work out how many times you need to press the button, you can find your answer. Simple enough, but there's a problem. Since we always skip a row, notice that we can only get to the odd rows. What if they ask you to predict the term for an even row, like row 8? There are a few ways around this, I'll mention 2 of them. First, you can find row 9 or row 7 and then add or subtract to get to row 8. If you choose to find row 9, notice that from an odd row, you have to subtract 5 to get to the previous row. If you choose to find row 7, then you will have to add 3 to get to the next row. The second solution is to start from an even row instead. If you start from row 2, you still add 8 every time you press the button, and now you get to all the even rows instead of all the odd rows. Let's try to predict the terms for rows 11 and 12. For row 11, first figure out the number of times you need to press the button. Since the starting point is row 1, you need to add 10 rows to get to row 11. Every time you press the button, you add 2 rows. So this means you gotta press the button 5 times, because 10 divided by 2 is 5. Since you press the button 5 times, your term increases by 40, because 5 times 8 gives you 40. Add 40 to the starting term 4, and we arrive at our answer, which is 44. To get to row 12, we just add another 3 to get 47. Or using the second method, we change our starting point to row 2. To get to row 12 from row 2, we have to add 10, which means we have to press the button 5 times because 10 divided by 2 is 5. Pressing the button 5 times, our term increases by 40, because 5 times 8 is 40. So from our starting term of 7, we add 40 to arrive at our answer 47. You also need to know how to predict the figure number when you are given the term. Let's say the term is 60. Again, let's figure out the number of times we need to press the button. Starting from the first term, which is 4, we have to add 56 to get to 60. Since we add 8 every time we press the button, we need to press the button 7 times, because 56 divided by 8 is 7. So if we press the button 7 times, which figure will we be at? The figure number increases by 2 every time the button is pressed. So since 7 times 2 is 14, we add 14 to figure 1 to arrive at figure 15. What if the term is 55? We have to add 51 to 4 to get 55. To figure out the number of times we have to press the button, we take 51 divided by 8, but this gives us a remainder. Why does this happen? Remember that we can only get to the odd rows by pressing the button. This means that we must be on an even row. So let's get to the next row, which must be an odd row. If you are on an even row, you have to add 5 to get to the next row. So the term for the next row must be 60. We add 56 to 4 to get 60, and 56 divided by 8 gives us 7, which is the number of times we press the button. If we press the button 7 times, we add 14 figures to figure 1, which means that the figure number is 15. But remember, we are one row in front now. This is for the term 60. Our actual term is 55, which is one row behind, so we are actually on row 14. The second method might be easier. Once we figure out that we must be on an even row, we just change our starting point to figure 2. From figure 2, we can get to all the even rows. We have to add 48 to our starting term of 7 to get to 55. To figure out the number of times we have to press the button, we take 48 divided by 8, which is 6. We press the button 6 times, which means that we add 12 figures to figure 2 to get our answer, figure 14. Understanding how to solve this question is not nearly enough. You need a lot of practice. It's just common sense. It might seem like a hard question now, but practice it enough times and you'll be able to solve it with your eyes closed. But where are you going to get enough examples to practice? Spiderweb Math is a website that I've created for my students which regenerates the same questions over and over again, and is automatically marked. This way, you can just focus on getting the repetitions in. If you found this video useful, do consider subscribing to this channel and liking this video.